Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now at a location called Weinbrenner Run, and we will continue the saga of Hayes' Louisiana Taggers, which we just talked about when they experienced their first loss at the Grove. As they retreated from the Grove, which is just only a few hundred yards in front of me, they tried to retreat back to that ridge right there on top of that alley. That's where they originally launched their attack from. Remember, more than 60% of the men from Louisiana Taggers did not make it back to that line. As a matter of fact, 47 wounded men, all of which were severely wounded. We're talking, shots in arms, legs, busted arms, legs, artillery shots of the worst degree. 47 of those men did make it back to this area. And under this cement walkway, which is modern man's developed version of Weinbrenner Run, actually it's now contained in a pipe. It comes out the other side of the school. But during the time of the battle, Weinbrenner Run was a small creek, which was about 6 inches deep, about 3 feet wide, and it was down these banks that were about 6 feet deep. These men, these 47 men, were able to make it back to the safety of this trench and this creek bed. For those of you who also know your history, what also happened on the 4th of July in Gettysburg is that it rained. And it rained historically hard. So hard so, in fact, that it almost crushed the entire Confederate Army, who was retreating from Gettysburg in a wagon train of 17 miles long of wounded men. However, back in Gettysburg, it rained, and every cliche you could think of, cats and dogs, in buckets, in sheets, as soon as you thought it couldn't rain any harder, it would rain harder. And these men in this creek bed, all of which were severely wounded, and remember, most of these men were never 5 miles away from their homes their entire lives. Most of them weren't educated, most of them didn't know how to swim, had no immunities, and now they're in this creek. And the water started to rise from their ankles to their knees, and above their thighs, and the cold water went above their bellies and their chest, and believe you and me, panic set in. And these guys started to scratch and claw their way out, and for survival. But unfortunately for them, that water kept rising, and all 47 men drowned right in this spot between these two locations. 47 men drowned to death in agony as they were flushed out into the field below. And if you have not noticed the dirt here, the soil is very red. We locals call it Adams County clay. And if you dig just one fence post in the heat of summer, when it's hot, in dry season, just one fence post 3 foot deep, you'll be sore for a week, because it's like digging into a brick. And conversely, in the spring, when the rainy season occurs, the water collects here so quickly in the Adams County clay, it's like a bowl. It just gathers the water. And you can see how these two streets convey to the lowest point. And even now, we just had a short 5-minute drizzle, and look at the puddle here. To this day, the spirits linger. In 1864, they pulled up these floorboards to repair this bridge, and you know what they found? Many instances on both sides of the creek of human finger marks, claw marks in the banks towards the top that had since baked hard as clay like bricks. Human fossils of agony, if you will. And in several locations, they actually found remnants of human fingernails, and these boys tried to claw their way out, and even better yet, on one of those floorboards, underneath, they found an actual front human tooth. As one man tried to bite for his last breath of life. They say if you come here when it rains and you listen to this grate, that you will hear in the sound of the running water the voices and the screams and the scratching and clawing for their lives of the men of the Louisiana Taggers who drowned on this spot. And they say at night, when you cross Weinbrenner Run, people have experienced this on our tours, that when you cross Weinbrenner Run at night, you will feel the sensation of tugging on your pants legs and your ankles. Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed across Weinbrenner Run if you dare.
Do you doubt the ghosts of Gettysburg? Then go there and walk the battlefields through the midst of historical horrors that continue to cry out night after night. Sleepy Hollow Ghost Tours will be happy to take you on the journey. I dare you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to point out to you the very historic Dobbin House. This was the very first building built in the town of Gettysburg in 1776 by Alexander Dobbin. At the time he built this home, there was actual Indians here. So downstairs is an actual period correct bar, which is a great location to eat. And they have an actual running spring in the basement, so you can fill up your cup of water 12 months a year. A good thing to do if Indians surrounded you. Now, Alexander Dobbin was a glutton for punishment, if you will, because he had not one but two wives. The first wife, he had 10 children with, and after her demise, he gets a second wife who came with another 9 children. Alexander Dobbin lived in this house with 19 children. And to this day, 2 of the children's souls still persist in the home. And at night, there are many sightings of the children running back and forth across the second floor windows. Come here tonight, take pictures if you dare. Another tidbit of history with this building is that it was an actual stop for the Underground Railroad. And if you go there today, you can see their museum and the actual compartments where they hid the runaway slaves. One of the very first stops north of the Mason-Dixon border. But yes, the historic Dobbin House is haunted. And if you come here today, you will enjoy very fine dining in the upstairs restaurant and a very cool period correct bar downstairs. And you will sense spirits in between your courses.
Our investigation team first went to the Gettysburg battlefields back in October of 2007. It was my first time to the battlefields, and just stepping onto those battlefields, it just gave you such a take back of what the history was. You know, so many people had lost their lives within a 3-day span fighting for what they believed in, and that really set home for me at that point in time. While on our investigation in Gettysburg, we only captured 2 EVPs. An EVP is an electronic voice phenomena, which is basically a spirit's voice captured on a digital recorder or any audio recording device that is not audible to the human ear. The EVP that was captured first was from Mark Fornoff's recorder while we were at the Triangular Fields in Gettysburg. While he was sitting on a rock, just talking out loud, he heard the EVP come through that sounds like, "Kimber, let's go." It's a very hushed whisper, but it seems very clear to us of the words that are being said.
Kimber, it's time. Kimber, it's time.
The second EVP that was captured by investigators while at Gettysburg was from an area known as Rose Woods. Investigators were taking photos in the area, and something odd was noticed on one of the pictures that was taken. The investigator continued taking pictures, and then once he got back to the same area, the same weird shape showed up again. After looking through the photos, we were able to determine that it was nothing more than just a branch that was down in front of the camera, and it disappointed us because we really thought that we had something captured on at least a photo. What we captured on audio right after us being disappointed, it was remarkable. What we heard, another EVP, which sounds like "We're worth the wait." Again, it's one of those hushed, whispered type sounds, which is a lot of the EVPs that we get, but we feel that it's very clear.
Another one now.
I want to see.
It's not like it's right by the camera. It's out. Another one now.
I want to see.
It's not like it's right by the camera. It's out.